Hi and greeting everyone. Welcome to the 4th ILSAS International Virtual Conference on Learning and Development, Iclad 2020. Special for Iclad 2020 participants, every afternoon we will be having a coffee talk session with a very special individual from the relevant industries in the learning and development community. By the way, my name is HRTS Bibi Hazrina, and today with me is a very special person from HRDF, Mr. Ronnie Ambrose Gobili. Hi, Mr. Ronnie.
Hello, pleasure to meet you.
So, welcome to our interview session today. We are very happy to have you here with us, and hopefully we can get a lot of information and advices to the audience out there that they can learn and apply in their daily life.
Sure.
Okay, maybe we'll start the interview with the introduction of HRDF and also your role in HRDF.
Sure, thank you. Thank you again, Ms. Bibi, and pleasure to meet everybody in this session. And thank you to the organizer for inviting HRDF to share some information about our organization to your audience. Well, the Human Resource Development Fund, or locally known as Pembangunan Sumber Manusia Berhad, is an agency under the Ministry of Human Resources. We were established in 1993, and the main function for HRDF is actually to administer the training fund for the country, particularly those subsectors or industries that are covered under the Act. So the main role, again, as what I highlighted, is to manage the Human Resource Development Fund for the industry to actually train their workforce. And I personally have been with HRDF for the past 18 years, and I'm currently in charge for the programs division under HRDF.
Okay. Can you just brief us more on how HRDF actually works in supporting the development of manpower in Malaysia? I mean, how does HRDF works?
Under the Act, under the Pembangunan Sumber Manusia Berhad Act 2001, which is an amended act from the Human Resource Act 1992, industries covered under the Act, the business owners are required to register and pay levy to the government through HRDF. So through the levy that they paid, they will then use the funding to train their workforce. And currently we have roughly more than 32,000 employers who are registered with HRDF, covering more than 2.5 million workers. Of course, being an act under the Malaysian law, the eligibility for funding only applies to Malaysian workforce. And for the past, I would say, 4 years, we have consistently, on average, training more than 500,000 workforce. And on each year, we have been approving more than 1 million training places. This shows the momentum of training among our registered employers.
Okay, so that's really amazing to know.
Exactly.
So, to put it simply, HRDF is the one that manage the collaboration and the working together between employers, employees, and training providers.
Exactly, yes.
Okay, all right, that's really good. Okay, in recent situation right now, with the COVID-19, having the third wave coming in and all that, and we see that the impact that COVID-19 has given to the Malaysian community and society. So how does HRDF plays a role in helping out those who are affected by COVID-19?
Yeah, I would say that the current presence, the pandemic that we are facing has made us rethink or reconsider the way we used to do things. And from HRDF perspective, this has pushed us to do things that is more than just administering the fund. So to help the industry to cushion this pandemic, as well as the workers themselves, in general, we have executed at least 3 initiatives that we hope would be able to cushion the impact of pandemic, which is the first one, where we launched the Penjana HRDF initiative. And secondly is we give an exemption for the industries from paying levy for a period of 6 months. And last but not least, for the training provider side, we also have given some exemption for them in terms of their registration of training provider and training programs. So going back to the first initiative that I mentioned earlier, which is Penjana HRDF, under this Penjana HRDF, we have implemented 5 initiatives. Of course, each of these initiatives would have its own purpose and the target group. We have the first one is the place and train. Place and train is actually meant to accommodate those who are those who are actually searching for a job, either school leavers or unemployed graduates, or even those who are being retrenched during this period of time. And of course, at the same time, we also realize that not everybody would like to work. Some would like to be their own entrepreneurs. Some would just love to become a freelancer. So that's why we have another 2 initiatives, which the second one we call it B40 development, which help the trainees to have their own small businesses. And the third initiative we call it Gerak Insan Gemilang, or gig economies, meant to help people to become freelancers. And the other 4 and 5 actually meant to address those who are currently working. We would love them to actually stay at their workplace, so that by enhancing their skill, the employers will keep them. So the 4th initiative is what we call SME development, meant to enhance the skill of the SME workers. And the last one is the upskilling and reskilling, technically focusing on Industry Revolution 4.0 learning areas.
Okay, so Mr. Roni, I can see that HRDF is covering a big scope of the rakyat. That means you have the B40, you have the fresh graduates, and you have people who are into gig economy. How do you think people can get more information or apply for this funding? How do they get the sponsorship for the training?
We have a dedicated portal for this. For those who are interested to get more information, they can actually go into our penjanahdf.com website to gather all this information, which currently available for them.
Okay, all right. So just check out on the HRDF website, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I have more questions on COVID-19 because I think it's a big issue, and the impact of COVID-19 is so immense that I can see that the governments are doing a lot of things to help the rakyat. So a part of the rakyat that is affected is also the training and training providers. So they have seen great challenges in the COVID-19 era with stringent SOPs and limitation on face-to-face interaction. Could you just share some of the biggest victories in HRDF when drawing up policies to help train the community?
Yeah, sure. We always look at training providers as our learning partners. As you're aware that in order for training to really happen, we not only need the people who manage the fund, but also the people who deliver the training. So training providers is equally important to us. And to ensure that they can continue this journey together with us, we have come out with several initiatives for them. One particular area that we look at is to enable them to actually conduct the training in the absence of face-to-face facilities or movement at this moment, is to conduct through remote online. So meaning they can still have the training, but it's only done via online. Yes, and at the same time, we also take note that some training providers are struggling at this moment. What we have done for this group of our partners is that we have relaxed some exercise of our procedures. For example, those who have registration that is expiring within the period of from May 2020 until April 2021, for example, during this period of time, they do not need to renew their registration. Yeah, they can still carry on with their business as usual. They may only need only to re-register themselves or renew their registration by next year, by 1st of May onwards, for example. So this will enlighten a bit their burden, we hope, during this specific pandemic situation.
Okay. Any advice on training providers who provide hands-on training? The one that requires people to come and do hands-on activities.
So here, this is what we call as technical training.
Okay.
So I think, again, this is in my humble opinion, this current pandemic has actually pushed us to really look into things that we normally don't do, especially in the technical areas. As we all know, conventionally, technical training has always been hands-on. People need to be at the training place in order to operate machineries and so forth. And therefore, I think this pandemic has really pushed us to look at other potential possibilities like adopting the virtual reality concept. However, this is not as easy as we say. A lot of things need to be done, but virtual reality could be one of the way forward as far as technical training is concerned. And I believe that the audience will be well exposed on how this virtual reality concept is all about. And if there is any request that I can make through this platform to the training providers is to consider, look into this platform as the way forward for them to deliver the technical training.
Okay, I think that is a very good way of looking to the future of technical skills. Which brings me to another initiative under Kementerian Sumber Manusia, which is on the TVET sector, technical vocational education training, which involves a lot of hands-on. Do you see the usage of virtual reality in training provided by the TVET industry?
As what I mentioned earlier, I think virtual reality could be one of the platform or the method that we may need to look now more seriously than before. Of course, it's not as easy as how saying goes, but compared to doing it. But maybe that is one of the way. But before going to that direction, I would also like to mention here that under HRDF in totality, when we talk about TVET training, it always goes back to the needs of the industry. And we have always been working together with the industry as far as identifying TVET related training that their needs are, including the development of what we call industrial skill framework. And this document that we have produced together with the industrial skill framework, would one way or another guide the training providers to focus on which training that they may be able to focus on to the future from here onwards moving forward. So I hope with this document would help the training providers to plan more and to execute better way, to figure out better way to execute those training.
I think HRDF is doing a very good job in helping out all the parties involved in human competency development, so that Malaysia can become a nation with highly skilled and highly knowledgeable workers. Let's talk about current skill gap in Malaysia. Is there any area that HRDF has identified, to be lacking or does not have enough skilled manpower in that industry, and what is HRDF doing to address that gap?
So I think this is where I would like to go back to this document that we developed with the industry, the industrial skill framework. So the industrial skill framework is actually a document that we developed together with the industry player. I would say this is by the industry for the industry. We have developed so far 5 industrial skill framework. For example, the digital technology in subsectors, where under this document, critical areas like, for example, data science, digital creative content, cybersecurities. These are the area critically identified by the industry themselves, which highlight to us these are the area of jobs and skills that currently needed by the industry. So by understanding this gap, we would then be able to tell our learning partners, which are the training providers, to focus on area required as highlighted by this document. So that's how we work together between HRDF, the industry being the employers, as well as the training providers, the supplier of expertise, together to close this gap.
Are these documents available, to be?
Oh yeah. It's the document is actually available to be downloaded from our website again. Okay. Kindly visit our hrdf.com.my to download all this document. It's free. Okay. It's meant for everybody.
Okay. So if you are looking for more information on the documents that have been mentioned by Mr. Ronnie, please feel free to visit HRDF website and look at the documents yourself. Okay, Mr. Ronnie, let's talk about the challenges, in learning and development. How do you see learning and development industry in the next 5 years? Where can we go from here, and what are the challenges that we might face in the future?
If there is one particular message that this current pandemic is actually telling us, is to revisit the way we do things. And having said that, the way, in my opinion, the main challenge that we are having as far as human capital development is concerned, moving forward, is to ensure that the delivery of learning is consistently and continuously as effective as it was before COVID.
But
so
using a different technology.
Using different method, using different technology.
Okay.
So this is where everyone, not only the employers or the trainees, but as well as the training providers, HRDF, and even the government, have to understand the package that come together with it. For example, if we ought to ensure that training continuously happening, we need to be able, from the training provider perspective, they need to be able to adopt the new technologies, right? Like, for example, remote learning. They need to be able to get used to conduct training in the room that is used to be full with trainees, but now maybe full by computer monitors, because the trainees is actually at their own respective areas. So these are the changes that we need to get used to. And if anybody who is not able to consider adopting this method, they might have to face tough challenge to do this. Yeah.
Okay, but when you talk about using digital technologies or virtual realities, and there's even terms like self-learning, self-initiated learning. But from our experience, ILSA's experience running, like online programs, is that it's usually on the time allocated to training. Like in traditional trainings, trainees will come to the class. They have to come to the institute to go to classroom training, and they are allocated time to actually be present at the training center. But when you go on a digital type of training, usually the expectation from employers is that you have to do it outside the office hour or at your own leisure time. And for the trainees, this is a bit difficult because they already have a schedule in their life. So to fit in a training that is not a classroom training, trainees usually find it a bit difficult to find the time to sit and go through the material. So maybe looking from employers' perspective, how can employers encourage this self-learning and digital learning to the trainees?
This is where the willingness, again, for everybody, including the employer's side, to accept the fact that the way we used to conduct training may no longer be the same. We used to have the privilege of going to classroom, meaning to say that we are not at our place, our workplace, we are at the classroom, but nowadays we might need to be at the computer in order to attend some learning or some training. So this is the same fact that the employers may need to be able to accept. Meaning to say that moving forward, they might need to allocate some learning hours for the employees, perhaps during the working hours itself, but there will be an allocation of learning hours for the employees to actually participate in learning, because they need to attend classroom, they need to attend training, just that this time is via online. Yeah, and this is just one of the challenges. Go back to your earlier questions. Another challenge that we need to look at is the content creation. The content owner will now have to figure out how best can they deliver their content, which normally they will do it in a classroom face-to-face, but now they have to do it digitally. Yes. How can they deliver this in the most attractive way via online? And these are among the challenges that which they have to face. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I can talk from experience. Actually, when you do an online module, online content, you need to have a lot of creativity, a lot of creativity to make the classes interesting and engaging to the trainees.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think it's very interesting. I think the points that you have highlighted are very true and something that everyone in the learning and development industry has to take time to ponder and think about. Thank you, Mr. Ronnie, for that insight. Okay, Mr. Ronnie, we would like to know, what is HRTF's strategy on reskilling and unemployment? How other countries are doing it, and did Malaysia has benchmarked any reskilling model around the world?
HRDF has always looked into training from various perspectives. In 2017, we have developed what we call the National Workforce Human Capital Development Blueprint 2018 up to 2025. And during the development of this document, we have done our benchmark on countries like Denmark, Australia, South Korea, Singapore, as well as France. So from this learning, what we have crafted or formulated in our way forward is to focus our human capital development in 4 main pillars. The first pillars are initiative that is actually addressed for the pre-employment groups. These include those who are school leavers, whether they drop out from school or they didn't pursue to the degrees or whatsoever, and as well as those who are unemployed graduates. Those are grouped under the pre-employment group.
Pre-employment group.
The second group is actually those who are in service, those currently working, which they need to be upskilled, they need to be certified. And the third groups are the post-employment. Because in Malaysia, we have compulsory retirement age. So those who reach to 60 years old, they are required to leave the workforce system. Not because they are unable to continue working, but because we have compulsory retirement age. So this is the initiative meant for the third group. And last but not least, the fourth pillar is to come out with ecosystems that will enable training to happen. So from this benchmarking that we have done, we have come out with this formula. 4 pillars that we will be looking at and focusing in order to make training more effective and learning to happen. So from this, and then it boils down to all the other aspects. Let's say, for example, helping the unemployed to be employed. So what type of skills required for them? Because of this formula, then we come out with a sub-approach where we realize that we need to work closer with the industry. Because only the industry know the skills requirement that they would need the potential employees to have prior to join the industry. So these are all the positive things that happen because we have those kind of structured approach in each of the pillars.
And these requirements, do they change often? I mean, do we review it from time to time? And how often do we review the requirements?
Of course, as far as the industry is concerned, rapid changes keep on happening within the industry. Nonetheless, having said that, within the industry themselves, changes may vary. There are some subsectors that change rapidly. They need to review even their skills requirement, the contents, the syllabus, at least every once in 2 years. While also there's another industry at the end of the spectrum that may need to only review around 3 to 4 years because their industry does not move that fast, right? But either way, there are always a movement within the industry. So this is where, by working together with the industry, we would be able to actually understand the dynamic that's happening within the industry, and we try to cope with those changes as much as we can. Right.
Okay. That's thank you for the answer, Mr. Ronnie.
Sure.
Okay, I just want to share with you Iclad's theme for this year. So every year when we do our Iclad conferences, we will set a specific theme for that particular year conference. So for this year, The conference theme for Iclad 2020 is on intelligence as the art of learning. So the principle of intelligence as the art of learning is that learning can take place anywhere, everywhere, and even at any time. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, on intelligence and the arts of learning?
Well, considering where we are currently, I would say that this is very timely. The theme is spot on. Personally, I feel that learning should not be limited to only one area, one method. Even learning shouldn't be tied up to a lengthy period. There are options like moving toward micro credentials. We even have method nowadays that looking into short modular basis, where the trainees or the student don't have to spend too much longer time just to do the training, and they can even learn from everywhere. Gone were the days that everything stagnant. Nowadays we can learn even micro element. People can learn from YouTube. People can learn from official platforms even like Udemy and everything. So this is, I think, the confirmation about is learning science or is learning art. In my humble opinion, it's a blend of both. Right? Learning should not be science entirely. It needs to involve the art element of it. The creativity of how we formulate the way we want to deliver training. It needs to be, much more emphasized now than before, because of where we are currently with all this pandemic coming to the picture, and the maturity of the students, the maturity of the industries, everything plays its role. So I would say that the theme is timely, and I wish you all the best success to your theme this year.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay, you mentioned Udemy just now, right. Udemy. And of course there are also other platforms like Coursera and edX. But Malaysia, we don't have any, like a similar platform like that for Malaysian trading.
Right.
Yeah, maybe we should have one. Maybe, I don't know, maybe HRDF could spur an initiative to have a platform like that.
Sure. Well, let's keep the future open for all this possibility. As what I mentioned earlier, we need to explore more options. And I'm not denying the potential of having all this platform in places in a very near future. So let's work on it. Let's explore more and see how it goes.
Okay, thank you. So Mr. Rani, probably the last question for today's session. The way forward for HRDF specifically, and maybe generally for the training industries in Malaysia.
When we talk about future, although what we have done in the past, post-COVID particularly, have been good, I would say, being from HRDF perspective, we have been monitoring the development of training and development landscape in Malaysia. We started zero days in 1992, and 28 years later, we can see how training in Malaysia has grown very well. The industry have learned the importance of training. They have benefited from training itself. The training providers have grown so much. And come 2020, which is a special year, it is an awakening year for all of us. I would say that based on our current experience, it looks like what was good in the past may not be good enough for the future. So this is a starting point, not only for everyone, including HRDF, but as well as the plan that we have. We need to actually have a greater plan as far as moving forward is concerned, and we need to integrate our capabilities, our capacity. The future is no longer about one organization take the lead or individually moving forward. It's about how we can come together. The industry need to come forward, telling what skills are needed, where are the missing link. The training providers, the education providers, they need to come together. They need to keep on improving their capabilities so that they would be able to bring the required skills to the industry. And similarly for HRDF, we need to go out from the norms that we normally do, which is just to administer training fund. We need to work together with the industry. We need to shape the industry in terms of human capital development. So I think these are the future fundamentals that we need to look at. We need to improvise from where we were to where we are going to be. And hopefully, in between, we would be able to figure out how to go where we want to go together.
Okay.
So to me, that is the way forward.
Okay.
Okay.
So very good input, very insightful, and a lot of learning points for everyone out there, for the employers, for the employees, for the training providers, for the trainers, and also the trainees. So, Mr. Rani, thank you very much for being with us today. We appreciate everything that you have shared with us, and I hope the audience has learned a lot of things, gathered a lot of information that they can use, and let's look forward to a better training, learning and development landscape in Malaysia.
Sure. Thank you.
So thank you very much, and continue to stay with us for more events on Iclad 2020.